Hey everybody, welcome back to another review. Hope you guys have been enjoying the content channel as of late. Just got out of seeing the latest mystery movie. This one being not what I was hearing. For a hot minute I thought it would be Conclave, which I'm actually curious to see, but it wasn't that. It was actually this film instead, and I was curious enough just to see. And, well, I have my thoughts. So, that film that we're going to be discussing is Whitebird. Whitebird, a Wonder Story, which is directed by Mark Forster, I believe his name is. I am familiar with him with film, most recently, Christopher Robin, which I feel is a very overlooked gem that is just filled with just genuineness and heart. Um, and has its issues, but frankly its heart is just so pure. um, this, as the title suggests, is a I guess you could say a companion piece to the 2017 film Wonder, which starred Owen Wilson as well as this little boy. And I haven't seen that film, but I've heard some good things about it, and this carries over with the film at the beginning, showing you a bit of a small connection with the two films, but ultimately going on its own thing. And the story, as it is starts off with a boy. He's new to a school, and as you learn early on, he was actually transferred to the school due to being a bully at his previous school, getting into fights, and was brought to this school. And he comes home one day, and his grandmother is in town, and they have a small discussion, aka the entire movie as it is, of her own upbringing and her own struggles within certain parameters that will be correlating to his current life troubles, as it were. Um, and the movie details that um, entire entire upbringing, that story, and that it is centralizing in the grandmother's backstory as she tells about her times as a Jew during the time of Nazi Germany and the struggles that she has within fitting in society, as it were, and ultimately finding herself sheltered in the house of three Germans, one of which is a little boy who she befriends and ultimately starts to form a deeper connection, and a love, a romance is sprouted from it. And as this is being formed, there is of course the outside forces that continue to plague and make it extremely more difficult for her to exist, as it were, and to keep her safety, keep her safety intact. And the film, looks through this and examines this, but ultimately in the center of it, what the film is examining, is the variety in kindness and acceptance and in genuineness, and it paints that through the eyes of a Jew, and through the growing plague that were of the Nazis. So, during the what would be the near the ends of World War II. So, um, so going into this, I didn't have much expectations because I just, from the trailer, I didn't really think much of it because I've seen the trailer a few times play in the theater, and there wasn't really much to it to my memory. And again, going into this, I just didn't have much really to think of. And while I must say it is absolutely predictable. I mean, you know exactly how things are going to play out by when they present themselves, and performance-wise, there's more to be desired. Um, I must say that outside of those issues that I do take, that I definitely will address up front. Oddly enough, the word that comes to mind when discussing this film is rather magical. Strangely enough, because even though there are issues with it, I mean, it's definitely not great. I mean, like I said, there are issues primarily to do in performance, which I think do hinder a little bit of the heft that is being built, because everyone just doesn't seem of A quality as more or less as B quality, and it kind of also demonstrates a lot of the melodramatic quality within its overall emotion, which is to say, it isn't as genuine as it could be, um, because of the performances that are there. But with Mark Forster, however you say his name, behind the camera, there is a an elevation in the quality that is that thankfully outweighs those performances. And there's just almost a like the comparison that I want to make, oddly enough, is Forrest Gump, because there's many suggestions to it, with this concept of a white bird, and that what it symbolizes throughout, and the literal visual usage of it. It echoes kind of that of Forrest Gump, and the progression that the film also takes reminds you of Forrest Gump. Um, it it seems to have borrowed the likeness of Robert Zemeckis to some extent, at least Robert Zemeckis when he was good. Um, and I admired that quite a bit, and I was honestly finding myself rather absorbed by that aura, and by that that just tonal progression. Um, I think that there's something enchanting within that craftsmanship. Obviously, something quite tender, um, and just really finds a place for you to become involved, and finds you a place to get you really invested. And I did end up tearing up at one point, because of ultimately the hand that is guided through the story, and that is within Mark Foster's direction, because the surrounding elements are not well refined. As I said, the performances could have been better. I feel as though that um, the writing can be a bit simplistic, a bit stale, but the heft of that craftsmanship, and more importantly, the heft of the score, which is actually done by Thomas Newman. Surprisingly so, when I saw his name pop up, I was surprised that he was doing the music for this, and it's very, very wonderful composing here, because it really also adds an added layer to the scenes, because I feel as though without that, some of the scenes would feel not as impacting, but because of that score and the dominance that it takes in those sequences, and really again just the leading force that it takes, kind of ripping it from the performers. It it adds something on a visual front that again is rather absorbing and rather investing. So it's not great. I mean, as I said, there are issues with it. There's definitely holes that you can pick at it, but again, just charming, absorbing, oddly enchanting, and a lot of that stems from the people behind the camera, and I was really taken by it. Like I said, I ended up tearing up at one point. I found just the progression of it to be rather investing. And it does, like I said, it dwells in predictability. You know where things are going. There are some exaggerative elements that do take place, and that I think kind of wake perks you up to, oh yeah, this is a book. This is being adapted by a book. Because there are some liberties or some strange stuff, specifically with wolves, like animal creatures that appear at one point, that just feel like just completely out of place. It feels like, just okay, we have to do something, I guess, to get this situation out of the way, but there's other ways to do that would service other elements better, rather than just having this weird visual thing that adds really nothing to the plot line. Stuff like that is, there is some nonsense, that does kind of spurt out at some moments, but thankfully it's just very, very minor. For a lot of its time, you get something that is cut and dry, but in execution within what Mark Forster is doing, and within Thomas Newman, how he's handling the score, there's just something of a layer of emotion that is there, and I was just immersed in it. And again, it's not in the spirit of the performances or of other elements at play, within the writing, or within the cleverness, and within its narrative. It's to say that it's just the execution of it. It's just the commitment to the craft in the directing department that just kind of gives uh, the entire pitch a level of substance that wouldn't have been there if it was someone else handling it. Um, so, because it's just something to do with the filmmaker that I guess it's just something with him specifically, because not with Christopher Robin, it's the same sentiment when you watch that film. A lot of the spirit comes from the filmmaker, and a lot of what he is bringing on that front that gives that film some substance, large substance, as a matter of fact. And the same goes with here, where it is the filmmaker, what he is bringing to it, that brings so much out of it. So, so So, as I said at nauseum, I'm noticing the performances are not as well conceived. The writing is rather stale. The overall just narrative itself is rather stale and cut and dry, and very predictable. But the manner of it, the progression of it, the overall hand, the guiding hand in Mark Forster, how he guides you through the story, and with Thomas Newman adding that layer of emotion within his score, you just get a surprising amount of investment and engagement that just, like, the word I'm looking for, like the word I get to, like I said at the end, is just magical. There's just something of a great spirit that this film holds that wouldn't have been there without those elements at play. And I stand here at saying that I found it to be good. And I mean, it's, like I said, definitely not great, but man, was I taken by it. I was really, really satisfied when I came out. And I really do encourage that you go check it out. It's definitely one of the better mystery movies that I've seen. Tempting to say maybe even the best now, probably Sing Sing or something like that. But very surprised by my overall engagement with it. So yeah, very, very surprised. So pleasantly surprised. I must add, pleasantly surprised. So yeah, so those are my thoughts on Whitebird. I thought it was fairly good. I thought it was engaging, and again, a lot to do with the directing, a lot to do with the hand that is guiding you through the story. It worked well. It worked well, and again, it's not without its flaws. There are definitely many flaws actually you can pick from it if you start to look at it. But generally, it's just by vibe, by tone. I was in it. I was invested. So, yeah. But you guys know your thoughts on Whitebird if you guys have seen it. I believe it is coming out this weekend, with Joker also coming out the same week. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below in regards to Whitebird. If you guys have seen Wonder as well, let me know your thoughts on that. I'd be curious to check that out as well. Because, like, the heart of this is what really as similar to Christopher Robin was, the heart of this is what keeps you going and keeps you at that height of emotional and just general investment and engagement. But curious if Wonder also has the same sort of feelings. But you guys let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. And that's gonna be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.